Welcome back to the second segment of our program, How to Get a Divorce. I have with me two new guests, Dr. Carol Hughes and Bruce Fredenberg. Dr. Hughes holds her doctorate in clinical psychology, and she is a licensed marriage, family, and child therapist. Carol brings to the collaborative divorce approach 25 years of clinical experience working with couples, families, children, and adolescents, as well as extensive training in collaborative divorce, mediation. She's helped work with people going through domestic violence, chemical dependency, trauma, and recovery. Since 1987, Carol has served as a family reunification therapist appointed by the Superior Court. Bruce Fredenberg is my other guest. He's a licensed marriage, family, and child specialist practicing in Laguna Hills, California. Bruce has 27 years of clinical experience working with couples, families, children, and adolescents. He has created and taught parenting programs for adoptive and foster parents on behalf of the County of Orange. He's had extensive training in collaborative practice, mediation. He's helped couples with chemical dependency, stress management, and male and female communications. I welcome both of you to the program. Thanks for coming today. Carol, let me start by asking you a question. There has been discussions in the collaborative model about a child specialist. What does a child specialist do?
Well, John, first, before I start answering that question, I want to just briefly describe the nature of divorce, the environment that the children are living in, which it's easy for parents and the other adults working with the children to forget. Divorce for children is about loss. It's about grief and loss, a lot of pain. They're losing their family unit, their intact family, and they need assistance dealing with this pain and loss and grief process. So what the child specialist does is provide a safe, neutral environment for the children to talk about what they're feeling, ask questions about the changes that are happening in their family, understand the divorce process, understand that they're not losing both parents, they're losing the family unit that they've been growing up in. So it provides a stability also for the children to have a place to discuss these questions and learn about what's happening in their family.
Bruce, when I listen to that, it sounds an awful lot like what I, as a non-mental health professional, what I think that mental health professionals do in providing therapy and treatment. So how does the role of a child specialist differ from the role when you're providing therapy or counseling to people?
One of the biggest things about the child specialist is that the child specialist is the voice of the child in the divorce. So the child specialist is impartial towards both parents. It's not like a therapist. You're not trying to change the family per se. You're not trying to solve all the problems, but you are bringing the children's interest to the forefront. So when the parents are in a lot of pain, and people in pain sometimes forget that their kids are important because they're so hurt or so angry at the other person. And so the child specialist brings that voice. The child specialist is also an advocate for a good parenting plan. We bring in information to the mental health coaches, the divorce coaches, so they can help the parents decide how they want to work out their co-parenting plan. And so we're also not like an evaluator. We're not trying to get the children to decide who's the good parent, who's the bad parent. We're just helping the parents keep the children's needs in front of them during the whole process. And it makes for a more peaceful divorce. It also keeps people from hurting their children during the divorce so much.
I heard you mention a parenting plan. As a lawyer in family law, I'm used to dealing with the issues of custody and visitation. That's been the buzzword that has gone on for the years of my practice. I hear more and more what's called a parenting plan. Carol, what's a parenting plan?
A parenting plan is how the parents are going to parent their children through and after the divorce process. In the litigated model, a stranger in a black robe basically tells the parents how they're going to parent their children, and it's called a custody agreement. And so what we do in the collaborative or the mediation process is we help the parents develop a plan whereby they share time with their children, and they are the ones who make these decisions about their children. The parenting plan is flexible in that as children grow, their developmental needs change. And so the parenting plan, we explain to the parents, will be evolving over time as children get older, and the parents will adjust to that, how they're going to parent the children as they get older. Did I answer your question?
You did.
Okay.
A lot of people who go through divorce and have issues regarding parenting of children, there seems to be a tremendous amount of, let's say, need and desire to have the children with them. Each parent thinks that that parent is best able to take care of the children. And from my perspective as a lawyer in litigated cases versus my perspective as a mediator, often it seems about embodied in the phrase, the children need to be with me. The children need to be with me. In, let's say, the mediation or in the collaborative case, Bruce, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with those issues where each parent feels the children ought to be with them most of the time and they're at odds with that?
A lot of times, children don't want to say things to a parent that's going to upset the parent. I mean, the kids are already confused enough and hurt enough, and especially if they see one parent in more pain than the other. And so a child specialist can a lot of times get the children to tell what's really important to them, and we share that information with the parents, but not in a judging way. It's really so they can have the information. There's a couple of things come to mind, and that is that I see cases in my practice as a therapist where people went through the adversarial divorce, and the kids in an angry divorce can get cut off from the grandparents, they can get cut off from aunts and uncles and cousins that they've enjoyed their whole life, often really close to. And when the parents are getting divorced, the kids aren't getting divorced. And so they still have all these relationships. And so by helping the parents to see that it's important for them to still have access to that, it opens up a bit of a wedge, a bit of a perspective so that the parents can really listen to what their kids want and what's best for the kids. And again, the kids have a voice. They don't have a choice. These are the parents making a decision. And the other thing I wanted to ask you, John, as a litigator, a lot of times in this process or other processes, people will get frustrated and they imagine if they go to court to litigate that suddenly they're going to have more power than if they stay in this process. And it seems to me that they have the most power in the collaborative process. What's your experience?
That's a great question. And I hear often, I don't litigate as much now as I used to, but lawyers will always hear their clients say, I want you to tell the judge. And then they lay out for you what they think the judge should hear. And too often, it has less to do about the best interests of the children, and it has more to do with the struggle or the drama or the story that's leading them into the divorce. And they kind of have the idea if they can go to court and just tell the judge all of these burning issues, the judge will immediately see the light of day and will then award custody of the children the way that parent thinks. The reality is that an awful lot of that information of why one spouse was bad and couldn't be trusted and broke my heart and did all these things, a lot of times that information is not relevant to a judge. The judge is interested in a narrow band of information pertaining to the well-being and best interests of the children. So parties who think that they can be empowered when they have their day in court often find out that they didn't get in front of a judge what they wanted to, and very often they don't get their day in court because the case is going to be settled by their lawyers, and they never really get closure on those big issues.
John, you mentioned empowerment. My experience, and probably yours too, Bruce, as a therapist and as a child specialist, is that parents and children come to the divorce process feeling disempowered. And when the parents are thinking about litigation, they're thinking, I'm going to go to court, the judge is going to see my side, quote, give me the children, quote, and that's not a powerful position either.
That's right.
We help them reclaim their power as parents and help the children feel powerful because this is their family and they get to make the decisions about their family. And to me, that's one of the most important parts of what the child specialist does and what the coaches do, also the mental health coaches.
I hope this information has been helpful to you. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we'll hear more about how to get a divorce. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.